Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League just can't catch a break, can it? No matter where it looks or what it does, controversy seems to follow this game wherever it goes, from switching up entire gameplay loops after fan backlash, to shutting down the game 1 hour into early access, and now it seems some players are pissed that in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, you actually have to, well, kill the Justice League. Let's get into it. I'll kick things off with a huge spoiler warning for the events of Kill the Justice League here. This entire video is going to be one big spoiler discussion, so if you're still in the early stages of the game and you don't want to know what happens or why people are upset about it, this is your last massive spoiler warning. First things first, it's not really the killing of the Justice League that's the problem. I was definitely being a little bit facetious. Really, the entire controversy centres around killing one member in particular, the means with which the killing is done, and what it means for the legacy of that character. And it is, of course, Batman. The scene in question takes place after the first 2 Justice League members are taken down and our ragtag crew have successfully defeated and captured Batman. The Dark Knight, who is, we must remember, being mind controlled by Brainiac, starts trying his best to unsettle the crew before Harley steps in for one massive punchline, a bullet to the head of Gotham's great protector. It's an unceremonious end for a fan favourite character, so obviously the internet did what it does best and absolutely flew off the handle. But, dear viewer, I'm about to attempt that most tricky of manoeuvres, the fence sit. Explain what's caused the controversy, why people are upset, why it might be justified, all the while leaning towards the idea that all of this got a bit blown out of proportion. Sadly, we have to start by pointing out that the subject of Batman in Kill the Justice League is a very emotional one, and rightly so. This was the late Kevin Conroy's final time voicing the Dark Knight. In video games at least, posthumously reprising a role he had played across the entirety of the Arkham series and numerous roles over the years in animated versions of Batman. So for a few players, such an abrupt, unceremonious and brutal end to the character left a bad taste in their mouths, and that's okay. You're allowed to be sad that an iconic character you've grown up with hasn't got the ending you think they deserved. Because Arkham Batman is an iconic character. Indeed, it's an iconic series for many. One of my favourite tweets to come out of all this was by someone who said that the Batman in Kill the Justice League simply wasn't the Batman that they'd collected all the Riddler trophies with. All this to say that players who feel sad that Batman's end was so abrupt, unceremonious and brutal are valid, but clearly there's a reason Rocksteady went this way. All issues of the game aside, and I appreciate that's a very heavy elephant to push to the side of the room, but the story and the characters have been one of the few elements that have been almost universally praised so far. At the end of the day, you're playing as the Suicide Squad. You're playing as the villains. Obviously, they're going to shut down one of the most prolific heroes the world has ever seen if they have him tied to a chair. Obviously, it's not going to be some grand gesture or huge moment. Harley, in particular, has been trying to kill the Bat for years at this point, so in the context of the Suicide Squad, the scene makes sense. I'd also like to argue that this being an unworthy end for the Arkham Batman is equally flawed for 2 reasons. One, as has been pointed out by many on social media, death in comic books, and certainly death in games based on comic books, is not something that's easy to make stick. We have no idea what Rocksteady's plans for the post-launch content of Kill the Justice League looks like, and it's been claimed that they're going to follow in the footsteps of many superhero properties in recent years and head down the multiverse route, so there's more than a slim chance that this isn't the end for Arkhamverse Batman at all, or at least a version of him. And as for Arkham Batman not living up to the hype or never letting himself get into this kind of situation, I'd argue the opposite. In another scene before you take him on, Bruce Wayne reveals he'd set up endgame plans for if the Justice League ever went rogue, setting up countermeasures to give Nightwing et al. The chance to shine and take them down. Now that seems like the kind of thing Arkham Batman would do. It's not his fault that his supply of sidekicks over the years failed to live up to the hype and meet his expectations halfway. So was Batman's death unceremonious and a little abrupt? Yes. Absolutely, and it's perfectly valid to be upset about it. Does it ruin the game or stand contrary to characters as we know them? We won't be spoiling any of the other super deaths in Kill the Justice League here, but suffice to say that there are plenty of other mean-spirited kills in the game. It is, after all, what villains would do. And if you don't like playing the villain, if you'd rather take up the mantle of the Dark Knight and stalk the streets of Gotham as its hero, then we've got a great recommendation for a game series you should play. Thanks for watching. What have you made of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League? Do you think it's getting more controversy than it deserves? Or should Arkham Batman have been given a proper superheroic send-off? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments, and while you're with us here at GG Recon, you should check out these videos here.